different ways you draw them on a graph. Let's start with the first one. Let's draw this graph. What goes on the x-axis? What goes on the x-axis? Kinda. It's time, and it's measured in days. Because the title of the axis is time, but the unit that we are measuring in is days. You have to be aware of that. How many days do I need to put on this graph? Why is it 7? It says a maximum of 7 days, because that's all that we have data for, yes? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Excellent. What goes on the y-axis? Right. So cost measured in what? How do we measure cost? When you go to the store, how do you know how much something costs? What do we use? Money. All right. So, first line. Logically, what should it be? What should the first line be? What should I label that as? 65, no problem. Okay, so that means every other line is going to be 65 bucks once you set that up. Now, I know that's going to screw us over later, but that's okay. So this is 130, this is 195, and so on and so on and so on, right? Okay, what is our first piece of data? First 3 days are $65 each, right? So at day 1, I've paid $65. Agreed? So I'm going to put a dot there. It's a tiny dot because I need to discuss it. Will that dot be an open or a closed dot? What will it be? Closed. Excellent. Now, the way that graph is set up right now, that means if I rent this car, if I walk into budget, and I say I want a car for a day, I'm going to pay 65 bucks. How long's a day? 24 hours. So if I walk in at 8 a.m., I got that car till 8 a.m. the next day, it's going to cost me 65 bucks, yeah? What if I only need the car until midnight tonight? Do you think they're going to give me a deal? Yes or no? No, just like if you only eat 3/4 of a pizza, you don't get to go back to Panago and say, I want back a quarter of my money, do you? So the whole day is going to cost me 65 bucks, no matter how much time I keep the car, right? So if I only keep it for half a day, how much is it going to cost me? 65 bucks, right? What if I keep it for 3/4 of a day? What if I keep it for 3 hours? 65 bucks, right? So how do I show that on this graph? That any input from 0 up to 1 is going to be 65 bucks. How do I show that? He waited patiently. What did you do at 1 to show it was going to cost 65 bucks? Holy crap, it's right in front of you. What did you do at 1 to show that it was going to cost 65 bucks? You're getting a quiz this block. I don't care if you get 1 minute for it. I'm not going ahead until somebody out of my 28 students can tell me what I did at day 1 to show that it cost 65 bucks. I have coffee and I have a comfy chair. You put a dot there. Excellent. Nice work. It was pretty frickin' complicated, so I'm glad you were able to step up to the plate. So what am I going to do at half a day to show that it costs 65 bucks? I'm going to put a dot there. What am I going to do at 3/4 of a day? I'm going to put a dot there. What am I going to do at 1/3 of a day? I'm going to put a dot there. What do I need at every single millisecond of the first day? A dot. If there's that many dots, what's it going to show? It's going to show what, Madeline? A line. Wow, nice work, grade 10s. Now, here's the problem. How much does it cost me, according to this graph right now, I walk in the door and I don't rent a car? Do I have to pay $65? Of course not, but according to this graph, do I? Yes, because at 0, there's a dot at 65. How do I mitigate that problem? How do I show that if I don't rent a car, I don't pay any money? Okay, I'll change the question slightly because that was apparently complicated. If I rent the car for 5 minutes, how much do I pay? $65. If I rent the car for 1 second, how much do I pay? $65. So, what do I have to put at 0 to make sure that I know that I don't pay anything if I don't rent the car? What kind of dot? Open dot. Woo! Excellent. I rent the car at 8 a.m. Monday. It's now 8:05 a.m. Tuesday. Have I gone into a second day? So do I pay for a second day? So how do I show that? On a second day, how much will I have paid to rent the car? $130. How do I show that for all the time from 8:01, I draw a line? What do I need right there? What do I need? You got a 50-50 shot, ladies and gentlemen. What do I need? If you haven't figured out that I'm much more angry when you sit around with your thumbs up your asses than when you give a wrong answer, you're going to have a long last few days of this program. I would rather you said a wrong answer than sat there and said nothing. So I'll try again. What do I need there? You got a 50-50 shot. An open dot. Why do you think that, Madeline? Pardon me? Right. 1 day is 65. You don't pay more till you go past 1 day. So you need an open dot there. So what do I need at 3 days? Same thing, but up at 195 now. Now what happens? They give me a deal. I go up from 195, I go up to 225, right? So from 3, I go up to 225. And then 255. And then 285. And then 315. Now, what should I do vis-a-vis, which means what should I do when this question is asked? Should I connect the points on the graph? Now, I've got a couple of options here. I could connect those points. Does that make any sense? Why not? But even if I did need to, why would I not draw that red line that I just drew? What does it go through? The open dots. What do we know about open dots on a graph? Are they really there? So why would I connect them? That's dumb. So, maybe I connect these ones. Should have used a different color than red. That's connecting the dots that are there. Should I do it? That's one option. Why not, Jack? Oh, why not, Parm? You don't get a deal. According to this red line, if I rent it for less than a day, I'm paying less than 65 bucks. All right, so it can't be that one. What about this one? Can I do that? Why not? Two reasons. One, you're connecting to open dots, and two, does time ever stop? No. So, should these graphs be connected? No, they shouldn't. Why or why not? Well, why not? Because the output doesn't change until a whole day passes. And that is this situation. Right? Because I can't pay less than 65. Everybody understands, right? Is it a function? Yes. Why? The vertical line test works. But what does the vertical line test really mean? There's no input with more than one output. Each input, day, gives a unique output cost. No matter what I say, you know how much it's going to be. There's no guessing. Right? So, what's the domain and range? This is a little bit tricky. What is the domain? Domains I've been writing in blue. So what is the domain? The days. So what's the lowest amount of days? 0. But do I hit 0? No. So how do I show that? Just that. What goes here? Not X. We're counting something. Days. Or time. And what do I go up to? Do I hit 7? Yes, I do. What is the range? $65. Then what? This is where it gets tricky. How many of you want to do that? Be honest. A few of you, right? So some of you want to do that. Cost less than or equal to 315, right? What does that mean in English? What does that mathematical sentence mean? Pardon me? A, it means 0 days will be $65. That's a problem. And B, it means every single number between 65 and 315. Is that possible? No, because what am I paying? What do I pay here? 65. What do I pay here? 130. What do I pay here? $195. What do I pay here? Oh, I changed it. I'm adding 30. I know it's tough. Do the addition. 235, 225. What do I pay here? 225 plus 30, ladies and gentlemen. 255. What do I pay here? 285. What do I pay here? 315. More proof that I made the right decision not giving you your quiz right away, because that adding seemed to be a bit of a problem for some of you. I know, adding's a bitch. How do you get through it, man? Adding, right? Am I right, Sayaj? Adding. God dang. I hate me some adding. So that's not right. Well, how do I really have to show it? Starts with an L, ends with a T, has IS in the middle of it. List. 65, 130, and so on up to 315. Everybody cool? Now, you will notice that this covers every single millisecond of the days from 0 to 7, yes? Every single one. I'm going to rent this car for 5 days, 8 hours, 36 minutes, 25 seconds. Do you know how much it's going to cost me? I'll say it again. 5 days, 8 hours. Where on the graph would that be? It would be past 5, right? It would be in the 5 to 6 line, which is 285, yeah? Okay. So my domain is every single millisecond, yes? Right? Okay, what's my range? It is restricted, right? My domain is continuous because it goes from 0 to 7, right? My range is not continuous because I don't have the ability. There is no permissible values that aren't 65, 130, blah, 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 blah. Everybody understand? So that makes this example discrete data because I have non-permissible values. I can't ever pay $67. Does everybody understand? Okay. If I could pay every single amount of money, and I could count every single millisecond of the day, I would have continuous data because both have all values permissible. Everybody cool? Okay. So that's the fancy math definition of it, but I don't like giving fancy math definitions if I can avoid it. I like to give definitions that mean stuff to people in the real world. So this is the way I like to define these. Discrete data is data that you can count. Please underline count. How many vessels of liquid am I holding up? This is not a complicated question. I should have heard 28 people say a number. 3. Excellent. I'm so scary, right? You don't want to give an answer to me. I'm such a dink about it. How did you know there were 3 vessels for liquid in my hands? This is not a complicated question either. How did you know to say 3? Because you can count to 3, right? Okay. How tall are you? Everybody's got it in their head, right? Right? I could take a measuring tape, put it at your feet, run it up to the top of your head, and all the way from 0 at the floor to the top of your head, do you always have a height? Is every single millimeter, picometer on your body a height? It is, right? Nowhere on your body is there a slice of you missing. Is there? Right. Because your height is something that we do not count. What do we do with it? We measure it. Does everybody understand the difference? Continuous data is data that we measure. What I mean by that is when you count something, often there's gaps, right? We all know that between 1 and 2, there's an infinite amount of fractions, yes? But there is no vessel of liquid that goes between 1 and 2, right? There is no half a vessel of liquid between 1 and 2, is there? Okay. When we measure, all values are available, including fractions. And if we're including fractions, we are automatically including decimals, yes? Discrete data, and I'm going to go to a third color. Discrete data has non-permissible values. And in the example we're doing right now, the non-permissible values are all the numbers from 0 to 65, and then all the numbers from 66 to 129. Then all the numbers from 131 to 194. Those are non-permissible because there's no way we could pay that much. Is everybody good? All right. Let's see if you really are. Turn the page over. And let's do the first one. I want the IV, I want the DV, and I want if it's discrete or continuous, and I want Y. Just do the first one to make sure you're doing it right. Talk with your neighbor for a moment if you need to. Okay. Who's got an IV for me in this one? So, Sihaj says that the speed is the IV, which would make the temperature the dV. Right? You want to flip it now? Okay. So he says the temperature is the IV and the speed is the dV. He said both now to make sure he has to be right. Right? He can't be wrong now because he said both things. If we say it was the first one, it's like, I knew it was the first one. If we say it was the second one, he says, I was thinking, I know it's the second one. Which is it? It is the second one. Why? Not bad. That's a good reason. Usually I do an example here. And because you had the right answer, normally my kids sit there just like you guys and go, I don't know. I just said them both. The real reason is this. I want you all to do something that is absolutely physically impossible for you unless I ask you for the answer to a question. Nobody say a word or make a sound. See, you can't do it. Less than 2 seconds in, someone's clearing their throat. Now, if I had said this, what's 7 minus 8? Dead silence. If I ask you a math question in math class, dead silence. If I ask you to sit and make no sound, scratch, turning cartwheels, oh my God, what's he going to do now? So, Let's pretend I just asked you what 7 minus minus 8 is. Some of you are still thinking about that in your head and reaching for your calculator, trying to figure out what it is. It is 15. See how there's no sound? Is there still a temperature? Yeah. So that's how you're able to do it. So good job. Now, is it discrete or continuous, and why? You measure temperature and you measure speed. So what is it? Is it discrete or continuous? Continuous. Right? And Sayaj is right. We measure temperature and we measure speed. Now, we only usually say a temperature in degrees, right? It's 20 degrees outside. But between 20 and 21, every value for temperature is going to be gone through, yes? For example, I'll give you another example. In the wintertime, when it's freezing, like below zero, right? The water in the puddles is frozen solid, yes? When it gets over zero, does the water go from frozen solid to warm enough to put your finger in right away? No, of course not. It goes through all the values of temperature between, right? Even if it's a value that we wouldn't actually measure, like the decimal place is so small, we're like, that's stupid, why would I count that? It still had to pass through it. Agreed? Okay, let's move on to the second one. Recommended daily dose of vitamin C is related to a female's age in years. What's the IV? What's the DV? And is it discrete or is it continuous? Talk to your neighbor. Go. Dead silence. All right. What's the IV? Sahaj? The age, and then the DV is the dose, right? You're sure? You're sticking with it? Final answer? Like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You're in? Do you guys even know what that show is? Does that show even exist anymore in any way? Okay. He's right. Of course he's right. Why is he right? Age is there all the time, right? Am I a woman? Do I have an age? Excellent. So, therefore, age is independent. Okay, so we've covered that. And then, is it discrete or continuous? This is tricky. Which is it? Silence. It is discrete, says Sihaj. Now, I'm going to give him a moment to see if he's going to flip-flop. I'm going to talk for a little bit and let him think about that answer and make sure he's absolutely confident that he's done the right thing. I'll write them both up so you can just see both of them and see which one just feels better. Okay, which is it? I need to keep talking? Okay, I'll keep talking about stuff while you make your mind up. Maybe you guys could do like Price is Right and start yelling prices to them from the audience, right? So maybe let's try that. Sayaj, what's your bid? Discrete, discrete. And some other kid, continuous, continuous. And some other kid only heard Price is Right. $1! It's not that. Is it discrete or continuous? Help a brother out. You still think it's discrete, even though I was trying to mess with your head? Of course I was trying to mess with your head. Of course it's discrete. Why is it discrete? We measure age, but it's in years. Do I add a sliver of the next pill, 1/365th of the pill for every day that the woman ages? Of course not. So this is discrete. Because you can take When you're 40, you take this much. When you're 45, you take this much. When you're 50, you take this much. Everybody understand? It's a tricky one because age is indeed measured. When you age from 40 to 45, you pass through all the other values, right? But we're only counting years. Everybody cool? All right. So, let's try number 3. IV, DV, and discrete or continuous. You got a whole posse right there. They keep whispering all the answers. Make one of them get some backbone and come out and say it. I say make Rajveer. Oh, I don't care. One Rajveer is as good as another. Huh? I know. It makes it difficult for us mush-mouthed English speakers to say it. Because as everybody knows, English speakers are the worst speakers in the world for speaking any other language. We always sound like idiots. Because English is the worst language in the world. That's why English is the worst language in the world. What other language would have bow, though, through, cough, and hiccup all spelled the same? And not one of them is the sound those letters make, which would be oog. Right? People say English is so easy. Every English speaker, why doesn't everybody just learn English when they move to a new country? Because of crap like that. How the hell are you supposed to learn a language that has 5 different sounds for 4 letters and not one of those sounds is the sounds of those letters? Doesn't happen in Spanish. Every letter in Spanish says the same thing all the time. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But not English. So if indeed you are a student learning English, English is not your first language, I applaud you. Because English sucks donkeys. Now, back to math. What's the IV? Number of cans. Why is it the number of cans? Right, if I walk into the store and buy no cans of juice, do I pay for cans of juice? Of course not. Now, is it discrete or continuous? Why is it discrete, Rajan? Pardon me? Yes, you're right. Yeah, I heard you now. I hear you now. It can have non-permissible values. Can I go into Safeway and say, excuse me, Safeway stocking person, I would like to buy 1 can of juice. Here you are, sir. Glug, 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 glug. I am now done. Here is your can back. I have only drank half of it. I'm only going to pay you 50 cents. Can you do that? Of course not. Although you always see some idiot has always picked something up at the grocery store, eaten a little bit of it, and put it somewhere else. Or the other idiot thing they do is they take something out of a cooler and realize on the other end of the store that they don't need that anymore. And because they are such lazy sacks of North American crap, they can't walk back to the cooler and put it back in. They just leave it on the shelf somewhere else to go rotten. What are you going to do? Make America great. That's what you're going to do. By being a lazy sack of crap. All right. So, was it discrete or continuous? My good friend Rajan has told us it is discrete, and he is abso-smurfly correct. Let's do the last one. IV, DV, discrete, continuous. Go. Yeah, Jasneet, that's the question you got to ask. Nice work. And clap, 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 clap. What is the IV? Temperature is the IV. Temp. So the DV is the altitude. Right? Final answer? How many people agree? Well, I know all you agree. You're the same posse. You all talked about it amongst yourselves. Rajan, you're going with those guys? You want to double down on that gummy bear you won today? Yeah. I will give you 2 gummy bears if you agree with them and they are right. Do you want to bet? You're willing to? All right. Okay, let me write that down. Rajan is betting. So, everybody ready? It is -3 degrees on Mount Baker. Where's Mount Baker? Right over there, right? Excellent. Is Mount Baker at sea level? No, Mount Baker is 10,000 feet in the air. Are we at sea level? Yeah. Do we have a temperature? It is 16 degrees. When I go up to Mount Baker, it is -3. What has changed? If I was at the bottom of Mount Baker, would it be 16 degrees? Because the bottom of Mount Baker is right over there. Yeah, it would. Oh, you're saying, Fahrenheit. Oh, you sneaky little you. What a punk. Nice job. Fine. Would it be 65 degrees at the bottom of Mount Baker? No. Anyways, what changes from the bottom of Mount Baker to the top of Mount Baker to make it -3? The altitude. So, what depends on what? Doesn't temperature depend on altitude? Because as we go higher and higher, it gets colder and colder. Sorry, Rajan. You lost. I gave you a chance. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Discrete or continuous? Of course it's continuous. Because I showed you the temperature here, 16 degrees. I showed you the temperature 10,000 feet in the air, -3 degrees. Can I get from here to here without going through all the height and all the temperatures? Of course not. This is not Star Trek. I cannot say, beam me to Mount Baker, I'd like to go skiing. I can't do that. Okay? So it is continuous. All right. We are, now listen carefully, please, ladies and germs. The discrete and continuous stuff is Page 295, 10 to 11, I think. Just wait a second. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. On page 94, 10, 11, actually all of this. Page 94 is the work that goes with today. I'm going to give you your quiz right now. You have 20 minutes to do that quiz. It's 8 multiple choice questions, I think. I can't remember. When you're done the quiz, you start working on page 94. Aight? I'll give you a bit of work time in the second block before we do the next lesson. Okay? Okay. Desks clear? It's only a quiz, so you don't have to move yourself around at all. Take one, pass it back. Make sure you put your name on it. What do you do if you finish your quiz? Work on page 94. We'll mark the quiz. If everybody gets done before break, we'll try to mark the quiz before break. If not, we'll mark it right after. Holy, did I divide it perfectly? Oh, one left over. Son of a bee. Oh wait, I did divide it perfectly. This is my copy to make a key. All right, attendance time.